Well, first off, we were in a separate category it came up with the Stan Sayers and bringing Seafair was there, but bringing the boat back and bringing the Gold Cup back from Detroit really was a period of time of an era. And then the sport started dying. They say it died. And that's when I decided that we just bought a hydroplane. We just raced a hydroplane, not owned it, but we then were starting to think about building a hydroplane. Did buy the U-64. I bought the Lincoln Thrift and used it as a display boat and for the team of the people. And along came Seafair, where it was in trouble. They'd gone to Sandpoint. They'd lost $250,000, and the head of Seafair, they decided that they were going to do what New York did the year before for the brought in a bunch of sailboats and big ships that were warship type of things in the early prime of life. And so I said, I just can't see Seafair dumping unlimited hydroplanes. So I got together and started, the press would come to me. Bill Knight was with a PI, sports guy for hydros and stuff in the Times, and I just said, well, I think that if Seafair is going to back away from it, Bill Muncy, Bernie Little, myself, and Dave Heronsberger, we'll go down to Renton, we'll run a race down there, or we'll take it up to Kirkland and we'll have a race up there and keep it alive. Well, they didn't like that. They started not liking comments, and the guys would, between Seafair, would make comments, and then I'd add to their comments, and before long it became a regular war out there practically. And all at once, the former president of Seafair, the Commodore of Seafair, Shannon Sweat, was a good friend of mine. I used their radio stations. It was owned by Gene Autry, and we used it here, and we used it in other places where we had stores. And he said, let's go to lunch. And so I got to lunch and went down on Lake Union, and he ordered a bottle of wine. I said, well, why do we need a bottle of wine? And he said, well, we need to have a drink before I start telling them much about what's going to happen. And I said, well, what do you mean it's going to happen? He said, the head of Seafair is going to come to lunch with us. Oh, I said, this is going to be a good lunch. It was Dale Fogelquist. He was a lobbyist for the oil industry. So he comes there, and Dale says, well, you're making a lot of noise about us at Seafair, and you've been doing this and you've been doing that. And he said, since you've been doing so much talking and we've been hearing you listening, and the sport's got its own problems, give us some ideas of how you think this thing could be saved. I said, well, there's several ways. Number one, you got way too many people running Seafair. You got way too many committees. 125 committees don't need to run Seafair. I said they compete with each other. I'm out there with a boat, and there's who's going to be there at night, and then at night our crew was working, and a couple of guys are drinking and everything. I said, and you got people, all kinds of things going on. I said, this is out of control like it is elsewhere, in like Detroit and other places where the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. I said, you got it. Or first off, start a new structure. I said, it's a great sport. Secondly, you should be able to charge on the beach, and I've been told for years by Bernie Little and Bill Muncy and everybody before I even got a boat in the sport, you'll never get it. You'll never be able to charge on Lake Washington. And I said, one thing I learned from my dad, and I've learned from my grandkids and my kids, there is no such word as can't. Can't means I won't. I don't try. I said I haven't built a business without trying. and I built a successful business with guts and didn't get run over by everybody. I said, the first off, you need a sponsor for this. And you have a big area here where you could charge, and I said a reasonable price for charging, and let kids in up to 12 years old, and keep it a reasonable operation. But that, and then you can put events down there on the beach that would be items that you could sell for the boats and people and members and people bringing their collections and selling it to fans in the future. Build this thing. Build it into the Seafair. He said, yeah, okay. How do you plan on doing it? I said, well, first off, nobody really pays attention to how that park came a park. I've been told continuously that park is a private-owned park. But I said, I think the private owner, along with an estate, it's the state of Washington that also owns it. Because when they lowered the lake of Lake Washington, because we had properties on Mercer Island, the water was held at a certain point, and when it went down, people gained property. And all around that area, they gained that. I said, I had an old customer of mine, Dixie Lee Ray, who was governor of the state of Washington at the time, and I said, somebody had guts enough, they talked to her about letting us use it. And I said, secondly, which I mentioned to him, you need a sponsor. He says, okay, how about you being the first sponsor if you can get it? If you can go get it, we'll let you be the first sponsor. I said, great. After another bottle of wine or two, the next thing I know, it was gotten to late, about 7, 8, and 9 o'clock at night, and our crew was all working. And I said, you want to see what a hydroplane camp looks like? And so I went down there, and they all thought, who in the hell is he bringing in here, this guy? And then he wants to get up on the hydroplane and walk on the decks, and nobody walks on the decks and stuff. And Dale says, well, let's try it. And Shannon Sweat, too. Let's try it. So we did. I went to the governor with the commissioner, or the head of Seafair at that time, running the actual committees and everything. And we went to Olympia, and Dixie's first word out of her mouth is, Bob, now what do you got on there? What are you doing now? What are you doing now? I don't want the parks back. I said, you don't have to take them back, but give us 4 to 5 days that we can charge on the beach admission. Let us take Stan Sayre's pits and take it and use it in an event outside. You got a great big garbage dump where we can charge some that was filled in years later, which was filled in at that time. I said, for parking, it's a park up here. It's not a park. It's just. I said, yeah, all the way up to Gary's house. Take it all the way up there. And too, I said, yeah, they just love all these people up there. But anyway, okay, so we did it. And they said, well, where are we going to have the Seafair office? I said, I got a building right down there, Occidental, 901 Occidental. And I said, that's where the original, one of the camps that were going to buy the Seahawks, which was going to be something else, but the Nordstroms outbid them. And I said, I own that building, and we can turn around